own any natural resource. They believe that the natural resources belong to the state, just as they believe property belonged to the state, just as they believe that rights belong to the state and would be issued by the state. So the first guy to take what they wrote and actually institute it was Vladimir Lenin. And his environmental policy, if you look at some of the things he wrote on land, on forests, on hunting, right on down the line, these were large papers that Vladimir Lenin wrote because he was quite the academic scholar. What we're doing in the United States of America basically mimics what Vladimir Lenin was doing in Russia in the early 1900s. We have gone so far away from property rights. We are demonizing anyone who happens to own a natural resource. To the point, Alex, we're now in the United States of America, the largest landowner for a long time has been the federal government. Our founders, prior to the Articles of Confederation, made it very clear the federal government should not own any land whatsoever except which was necessary for a small, limited government. Look what we've got today. Over 700 million acres of land owned and managed by the federal government. And now, President Obama on a tear to scoop up 1.6 million more acres of land. All of this for what? To control the resources, to keep us off the property, to destroy our farmers, to destroy our ranchers, to herd us into urban centers where we'll live like little hamsters and monitor our carbon footprint like an idiot would monitor.
Where they can control us. We got to go to break. He's author of Eco-Tyranny, best-selling author of ClimateGate. Again, The Greatest Hoax, all available at Infowars.com. We're going to come right back. Evil capitalism, folks. Vote with your dollars. The communists and globalists take your money, give it to themselves, give it to their own media. We're going to come back and break down the world they want to build. Now they're announcing they're kicking people out of, quote, public lands. Why is that happening? We'll find out straight ahead. Thank you for joining us. Short segment here, long segment coming up with our guest, Brian Sussman, best-selling author. We're carrying all his books on the Eco-Tyranny at InfoWarsShop.com if you want to support all of our work. But you may think you know it all. You can learn a lot in these well-written books. But more importantly, buy it and give it to somebody. Because they want the moral authority as a pretext. It has communists and socialists wreck the countries they're in control of. They're not worried about real environmental issues. Here in Austin, they take property for the 20 years I live here from people, pay them nothing in some cases, and then give it to their friends to build on. I mean, I've been at smart growth meetings where they laugh at me when my camera is off and say, yeah, we're taking over. So I have found that at the upper levels, they know they're criminals. Just be clear. And it's an anti-human agenda. They want to reduce world population. It's a form of being conquered. And the quotes are all out there. I mean, so when we say they're diabolical, they're criminal, we're not joking around. Okay, and I'm showing a map from the Bureau of Land Management right now. Some states are upwards of 90%, like Nevada government. And guess what? They're trying to take the rest of the land. They are getting land all over the country. They're using taxpayer money to do it. And again, if you're a radio listener, I'm showing this on Prisonplanet.tv. Going back to our guest, Brian, I mean, this is such a big subject, continuing with their tyranny, but I want to get into, from your perspective, where they are now, the way they've changed their guilt-based takeover.
Yeah, it is guilt-based, and you were really one of the first major voices to expose Agenda 21, and that's really what we're getting here. The agenda for the 21st century is crafted by the United Nations, specifically that mysterious character, Maurice Strong, who even conjured up the term sustainable development. So what they've been able to do, without us signing any treaties, they've made this soft law in the United States, and we have so many people that are beholden to whatever the UN wants to impose upon the people of the United States, that this agenda has wormed its way into every level of government in the United States, city, county, state, federal, etc. But again, this is all about control, and you just touched on one of the key points, population control. These are people who believe there are too many people on the planet, not enough resources for the planet, or at least that's what they say, Alex, because they throw out a lot of garbage which is designed to give them power. For example, in Agenda 21, they want to redefine consumption patterns. They want to redefine wealth. They want to change population patterns. Agenda 21 has came up with this phony baloney nonsense of green jobs, or even smart meters and the smart grid and smart cities, as you just mentioned. So all of this comes from them. And again, it's all about changing the way in which we live and subjecting us to a form of tyranny.
I mean, you've written several books on this subject, and what is the most egregious thing you think they're pushing for right now worldwide?
Well, worldwide, if you talk to any of these people, and if you can just get them as you have done when your cameras are off, you know, it's interesting. When the cameras are off, they'll start talking. I've been able to do this on a number of occasions when my cameras are off. I've been able to do this on a number of occasions when I've been able to apply them maybe with a glass of wine or something like that. All of these environmentalists, Sierra Club, Nature Conservancy, you just name the group, they will all tell you at the end of the day there are too many people on the planet. So then I ask the question, so what do you want to do about that? Well, how do you suggest we get rid of the people? Well, they always say birth control, and by that they mean abortion. But then I also ask them, well, what about a war? What about disease? Would you feel that that would be a proper way to expunge the planet of all these people? And it's interesting, they won't answer that question directly, because I believe these people, in a strange, diabolical way, they love disease. They love to see people killed in wars, because that's delivering the population, that's reducing the population of the planet.
Well, that's in State Department Memorandum 200. That is their policy.
Absolutely. And when you get them to talk honestly, they will articulate that, because you could look at Dave Foreman, the guy who started Earth First. You know, it's a radical terrorist eco-organization, a guy who's also on the board of the Sierra Club, the board of the Wilderness Society. He's a mainstream environmentalist, but he is a radical. This is a guy, you ask him, okay, so how many people should be on planet Earth? And he will look you right in the eye and say, well, probably 100 million. 100 million? So how are we going to get to that number without some kind of catastrophe taking place, and probably a designed and planned catastrophe if they were to have it their way?
What is 100 million out of 7 billion that we have now? That's 95+%, isn't it?
That's okay. That would be, you know, roughly a third of what we have here in the United States of America. And who are going to be the survivors, Alex? Listen, this again comes from the bowels of Karl Marx. Marx was a materialist. Marx believed that certain people were spit out of their mother's womb with a better brain than others, and those with the better brain have some sort of right or responsibility to rule over the rest of us, because the rest of us, left to our own devices, Marx believed, would kill one another and destroy the planet. Amazing.
Stay there. We got to come back with that. Brian Sussman's actually read Marx and Engels. I have too, and Lenin. You should read it. All you that think communism is equality, take so many. George Bernard Shaw, he said, if you don't work hard for the state, we're going to kill you. It's a bunch of control freaks ruling you. It's total slavery. We'll be back. We got some good news for everybody. Just broke. Cass Sunstein, the White House regulations czar, that said fine people. He said we could make it illegal to have conspiracy theories, but he said, or we could just fine them. He wrote that for Harvard and for the Chicago Business School. 2 different papers. He wrote them in 2007 and 2008, and he's a total tyrant. He's an environmental, not wacko, but tyrant. Limbaugh calls them wackos. No, these are not wackos. Yeah, I mean, crazy like a fox, crazy like Lenin or Stalin or some other authoritarian. So, they know what they're doing. They're coming in and taking over society. That's what the Jacobins in the French Revolution took something bad and made it worse and tried to change the work week to 9 days a week, you know, with like 10 months a year. They tried to get rid of the family. Communism is really old, folks. Communism, it sounds crazy, but it's real. It comes out of the Illuminati, Luciferianism. That's even in mainline history books, but the average person hears that and goes, what? But the point is, this is what we're facing. This is eco-tyranny, and Brian Sussman joins us. I'll give you more details of that Cass Sunstein info here in just a moment. We're printing the article off now, and we'll get it up at Infowars.com. But the book is Eco-Tyranny. In fact, all of his books on this subject are available now via WorldNet Daily Books at InfoWarsShop.com. You can also call our office if you want to inquire about anything or order over the phone, 888-253-3139. And we don't have the luxury of taking billions of dollars in taxpayer money and giving it to MSNBC from the banker bailout. We actually fund ourselves by you deciding to buy the high-quality products that we promote here on air. You are our sugar daddy, folks. You are doing a mid-air refueling for the nightly news, the newspaper I'm coming out with, the films, the 15 million people we reach a week one way or another. We want to push that to 30 million. We want to go to the next level. We want to beat these people, because that is about survival. I don't want my 3 children to be slaves. Now, Brian, we got cut off by that break. Continuing here, Where is, well, you were getting into communist and how they believe in elitism, and that's what they always create, is the most top-down, most impoverished, because it's designed to do that. And then you see the young college students, you know, with their doctor parents or their inventor parents, putting them into a $200,000, you know, college education, wearing Mao Zedong shirts, the trendies here in Austin, go to, you know, communist bars are everywhere. It's really cool to love communism, but when I see a red star, it's just as upsetting as a swastika. In fact, it killed a lot more people than the swastika, you know, than the banner of the swastika was used to kill.
There's no question about it. And again, people think it's really cool and, hey, we can do communism better. But again, the bottom line is when you look and study Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, they were great wordsmiths. They were very deep thinkers, but they were nuts. Diabolically so. And the left today, and those in the hallowed halls of academia, and those in the West Wing, and then the Oval Office of the White House, think they were the greatest things since sliced bread. I mean, a case in point with Marx and Engels, as materialists, they believe that the material in you and me, you know, the atoms and molecules, were no different than the materials in a redwood tree or a snail. The only difference is those materials, the atoms and molecules, are just mixed or arranged differently. So therefore, we're all the same. You know, mankind, God forbid we would ever say that mankind is made in the image of God. They think that's absolute foolishness. So as a result, we're all on an equal plane. That's why they want to protect the other species, they say. But it's actually beyond that. They don't want to protect the other species. They want to discriminate against humans because they see us as the species that could kill all the rest. Therefore, we need rules, regulations, heavy-duty laws to keep us suppressed so the elite can rise to the top and rule the rest of us. Now, that mindset was, again, articulated by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in so many different papers, and it is believed wholeheartedly by the left in America and the world to this day.
Continue breaking down where the environmental fascists are right now. I mean, recap for folks that don't remember play-by-play what happened at the whole ClimateGate thing, how big a defeat that was for them, and then what they're doing since. Because I know they haven't given up. They've redoubled their efforts. They've lost the culture war worldwide. All the polls show it, just like with guns they have. But they don't care. They're just, in fact, I've seen them, I mean, to answer my own question, hundreds of articles saying, we're authoritarian. We want green fascism. Those are quotes in The Guardian. We're going to make you at gunpoint. We're too stupid to accept their communist utopia.
Well, you keep track of everything. So you saw this quote, no doubt, from Senator John Kerry. He said, climate change over the last few years has regrettably lost credibility in the eyes and ears of the American people. So now he wants to try convince Americans that climate change is as dangerous as the possibility of war. You're right, Alex. They're totally losing the argument because people are now using their own brains to look at the fact to realize if you're going to have global warming, you'd better have global warming. Now, Al Gore can't disagree with this. There's been no global warming whatsoever, and I'm speaking here as a meteorologist, since 1998. There's been none. In fact, over the last 18 to 24 months, the temperature has slightly dropped. If you look at all the warming that's taken place since 1950, that would be 0.7 degrees Celsius, just a little over a degree Fahrenheit. This is a fact they hate, Alex. 88% of that warming occurred before 1940. The 1930s, hottest decade on record, period. Can't deny it. That's just the way it is. 22 of our now 50 states had their all-time record high temperatures in the 1930s. So what do they try to do? They try to scare us with all of these various, the latest one at the Rio conference was the extinction of species. See, it's gone beyond climate change. Now they're saying, wait, mankind's influence and interference on the planet is going to wipe out all the species. They're desperate to win this argument because, as you articulated at the very beginning of this broadcast, this is their hook, using the environment to put forward this brave new world, which is more in keeping with Marx